Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel for another week of What's for Dinners. If you're new, my name is Courtney. I am a stay-at-home mom. On my channel, I like to bring you guys what I call mom content, which is just all the things that kind of go along with being a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, things that I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to, cleaning motivation, cooking, homeschool life, grocery hauls, all that kind of stuff. On the What's for Dinner videos, I usually bring like 4 or 5 meals that we have had for dinner over the past week. And just to kind of share the recipes with you guys, let you know how it turned out, maybe motivate you guys to cook something different or something like that. Anyway, for this week, we kept it pretty simple. We did have some leftovers throughout the week, which I'm always a huge fan of. I try to at least have one meal every week that has leftovers. That way I know there's at least one night that I don't have to worry about cooking a big meal, but usually I can get away with 2 if I'm really lucky. On this particular night, I didn't have any leftovers for this meal, but I am making some steak sandwiches. So these are super, super simple. I have the frozen seasoned sirloin steak that you can buy at like any grocery store. I think Steakums is like the name brand, but then I got the Walmart brand. Anyway, it makes this meal super, super easy. So I'm going to start off by sauteing some bell peppers and some onions. I just have some of those little sweet bell peppers. Those are my favorite. I love, love, love those peppers so much. They're great for dips. They're great for salads. They're great for sandwiches. But I just sliced them thinly and put them in a skillet with just a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper and that thinly sliced half of an onion. And I'm going to cook these really just for a few minutes. I don't want to cook them until they're just like dead. I want to just cook them where they still have a little bit of bite to them, but they're soft enough that they're going to, go well with the sandwich, that kind of thing. To this, the only other thing I'm going to add is a little bit of Worcestershire sauce just to kind of give them a little extra kick of flavor.
Tonight we're running on the right track. I know we never gonna look back. Oh, I just wanna have a good time. Call me whatever, 'cause I'm up for anything like that. Oh no, we don't wanna do slow-mo, so tonight we just let go. To the beat in the streets, every freak out singing like, singing like, party like, freaking out. To the beat, yeah, we freak out singing like, party like, freaking out. To the beat, yeah, we freak out singing like. Where's the fun in doing what you're told? But I don't mind even though I lose control.
All right, so as you can see, I just showed you guys the box. Again, it's just the Walmart brand, and they're shaped like a steak, which is funny because it's really just shaved meat. Anyway, I just put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the skillet. It's the same one. I just sauteed the onions and peppers in. I just kind of wiped it quickly with a paper towel and threw it back on the stove with like maybe a half a tablespoon of oil in the bottom. And I just put that frozen steak right there. It is frozen solid. I just put it right into the skillet. And as you can see, I kind of pushed it down just a little bit to try to get a decent sear on it. Flipped it over, did the same thing. And now it's cooked enough. I can start to break it apart, which is what we want. I'm going to cook this a little bit longer, but I'm going to go ahead and add in the peppers and the onions and a little bit more Worcestershire sauce to this just to kind of add some extra flavor to it. Like I said, the meat is seasoned. That's what it's called, seasoned steak, seasoned sirloin steak. And it has a lot of flavor on its own. Definitely does not need any salt. But Worcestershire sauce goes a long way. And as you can see, I kind of shaped it into like the shape of the bread. And I added some provolone cheese on top, turned off the burner and put the lid on top. And it melts the cheese perfectly so that we can have a beautiful sandwich. There it is. I served this with a small wedge salad on the side. It is so delicious, so, so tasty, and so quick and easy too. So on to the next meal. For this particular meal, everybody was home, so I'm making lunch. It's on a Sunday. I am making some steak, but I'm going to do it in my sous vide machine. So I've made steak on my channel a couple of different times and a couple of different ways. This one I have not done before. I know not everyone has a sous vide machine, and that's fine. I just got one last year for Christmas. I really do like it. It is definitely, it's different. The meat comes out much more tender. It's a whole different texture. It almost just melts in your mouth. And I don't know. There's just something about it that makes a really nice cut of steak. I haven't tried other kinds of meat in there yet. I do watch some other people that cook with sous vide machines, and I've seen a lot of different things that they do. So eventually I'll branch out and try something different. But for today, I'm just going to stick with these steaks. They're just simple New York strip steaks that I picked up on sale at my grocery store. But I'm going to pop them in this bag. This came with my machine. It's a reusable bag, and you're supposed to pump the air out. And as you can see, I am pumping, and nothing is happening. So here's my fail for the day. I actually sped this up, so I pumped for quite a while, trying to figure out what the problem was, why the air is not coming out before I realized, yep, that's right. I didn't seal the bag all the way. Once I sealed the bag, it was a whole different story. So to use a sous vide, you're going to season your meat. I use salt, pepper, and garlic powder, both sides, heavily seasoned. Put them in the bag, suck out all the air, and then we're going to put them in this water bath. And that's all a sous vide machine is. I just have a plastic storage tote from Walmart. I filled it with water. I put my steaks in the water, and I turn my machine on. I do have it set at 127 degrees. I know that that is not fully cooked for beef, and that's fine. So what we're going to do is cook the meat in here, and then we're going to pull it out and we're going to sear it in the skillet. So we definitely want it to be a little shy of fully cooked so that we don't overcook the steak. While that's going in the sous vide, which I let it run for about 3 hours, it really does help to melt the fat away. So while that's doing its thing, I did go ahead and prep some asparagus. I had a little bacon grease left over from cooking breakfast that morning. So I just went ahead and threw the bacon grease on here instead of some olive oil, which is what I normally use. And I'm just going to keep this really super simple: salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And I will pop this in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes, and it comes out so beautiful. The tips get nice and crispy, and there's so much extra flavor because we roasted it, and that bacon grease really added an extra layer of flavor. So now I'm going to move on to making a butter for the steak. You know, a lot of people like to melt butter across the top of the steaks. I kind of just put a little bit on each piece as I eat it. I don't like to melt it across the top, but you do you, right? Anyway, this is how I make my horseradish butter for steaks, which is what I make like 99% of the time when we have just plain steak. So I took 4 pounds of butter. It was probably about 3.5 tablespoons, not quite 4. And this is for my whole family. So, or anyway, my husband, myself, and my oldest son. And then I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce just because I like that kick of flavor. And then I'm going to add in about 1.5 tablespoons of some horseradish right there. And I'll also toss in a little bit of garlic and salt and pepper. And then I'm just going to kind of mush this together, really is the best way to put it, because that butter is softened, but I mean, it's real butter, so it takes a little while to incorporate it with other ingredients. But that's all I'm going to do is just kind of like smush it all together until it forms a nice butter. And then I'm going to set it off to the side, and it'll be ready whenever we are ready to have steaks later. This makes more than enough, but I mean, it's always good on other things too. Like if you're cooking, sometimes you're cooking some vegetables or whatever. This really is a nice butter to have. It's tasty on potatoes as well. So just keep that in mind. If you're whipping it up, you might like it for a few other things. So I've pulled the steaks out of the sous vide machine, and I'm only going to do 2 of them right now. My son was at work, so I'm going to cook his later when he comes home so it's fresh. So I know they don't look very appealing when you pull them out. They're kind of gray, but that's all right. They're going to look great in a minute. I like to pull them out and put them on a separate plate. And then I go ahead and blot them dry with a paper towel because I do want to get a super good sear on these. They're already seasoned. We don't have to worry about seasoning them anymore. I seasoned them before we put them in the bag. I did put just the tiniest bit of bacon grease in the bottom of my skillet just to make sure that, you know, they had something to cook in. I wanted to be extra careful with that. And I'm just going to pop them in that cast iron skillet and let them go, let them cook and do their thing. It only takes a couple of minutes. I've got it on the highest heat I can. So we're going to do about 1.5 to 2 minutes on each side. The steaks are almost completely cooked. And in that amount of time on that high heat, they are going to finish cooking because we do eat them more on the rare side. That is my personal preference to have a nice rare steak. But look at that beautiful sear. We've got some color. We've got some caramelization. That's really what you want to see when you are having a steak. They are so good. The texture is totally different, but it is really, really delicious. There you have it. I served it with some bread and the roast asparagus. Really, really tasty. I hope you guys will try this one. If you don't have a sous vide, just do it in the skillet. Steak's always a great dinner. All right, and on to the next night. We're going to have some, it's kind of like a take on Chipotle bowls. I'm going to call them Cantina bowls because they're similar, but they're different. So This is just kind of my take and play on it. So I'm going to start off by making some cilantro lime rice. I washed 2 cups of rice and put them into my Ninja Foodie to pressure cook them with 3 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, and about 4 to 5 tablespoons of lime juice. I'm just going to cook it for like 6 or 7 minutes on high pressure, and it will be ready to go. So while that's coming up to pressure and cooking and doing its thing, I'm going to make a little corn salsa on the side. So I drained 1 can of corn, and now I'm going to add to it 1 finely diced poblano pepper. This one had a little bit of heat to it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's really hard to tell with poblanos. They're supposed to be mild, but I have had some super hot experiences with them in the past. So, it's a roll of the dice what you're going to get, and that's okay. It made a really nice salsa. But like I said, I'm just going to finely dice this. I'm not going to go in too big of chunks because poblano peppers have a bit of a texture to them. So I want to keep it really, really small. To this, I'm also going to add some can I talk today? Some drained and rinsed black beans. There we go. I don't know why that was so hard. I'm also going to add some salt, some pepper, some lime juice, and a little bit of cilantro. If you're one of the people that does not like the taste of cilantro, go ahead and leave that out. Not a big deal. I'm actually using a lot of cilantro in this meal, but you don't have to if it's not your thing. So no worries.
Maybe I shouldn't call you or leave a message at all. So I'll try to be patient, 'cause nothing's written on the wall. Yeah, it's too soon to mention how I've begun to feel that I want your attention. This time it is for real. Oh baby, love me like you did last night. I wanna hold you till the morning comes. Oh baby, love me like you did. Love me like you did. Oh baby, kiss me till I see the light, like you did last night. Like you did last night. Could it be that I'm lucky to have found someone who is just as crazy as me? Or is it just in my mind? Yeah, it's too soon to mention how I've begun to feel that I want your attention. This time it is for real. Oh baby, love me like you did last night. I wanna hold you till the morning comes. Oh baby, love me like you.
All right, and on to the star of the show. It is time to cook that chicken. This is just some pre-seasoned chicken that I purchased from HEB. I couldn't even tell you what the seasoning is on there. In all honesty, it tasted great, but it didn't taste like there was a whole ton of seasoning on it. If you're making this at home and you don't have anybody that sells like pre-seasoned chicken, I would do like salt, pepper, garlic powder, chili powder, maybe a little bit of cumin, and definitely some onion and garlic powder. And it's going to taste really good. Fresh squeeze of lime juice on there certainly would go a long way as well. Anyway, the chicken is already like chopped and everything in the package, so I just kind of tossed it in there and I'm going to stir it around. Now, there's a lot of chicken in that little cast iron skillet. A better home cook would have probably done it in like 2 separate batches so it crisps up a bit better, browns a little bit better, but I'm not that person and I was in a hurry. So this steamed more than it, browned and got all beautiful and crispy, but it still tasted really good, so I'm down with that. Let's pop over and take a look at the rice. It was done. I just released the pressure on my own, added in a couple of tablespoons of butter and about 4 tablespoons of that cilantro that I had diced up earlier, stirring it around. And then I'm just going to turn the machine off, but put the lid back on so it stays nice and warm. And the rice is done. It is ready to go. And there's my chicken still just steaming away in that pan because it's overcrowded. I know. It's going to drive me nuts because I know what I should have done. And you can always look, what is it? Hindsight's 2020. It's one of those moments where I was like, man, why did I do that? I know better, but here we are. So anyway, the chicken's just going to keep cooking. It did produce a ton of juice, and I think I cut it out, but I actually did take a paper towel and just kind of blot up some of that juice because there was so much of it. I just thought it was a little too much. I wasn't looking for, like a soupy chicken or anything. I'm just throwing this in a cantina bowl, as I have now called them. So I didn't want nearly as much juice as this produced. But it cooked pretty quickly. I mean, all in all, I think this was done in less than 10 minutes probably. All right, so one other thing I'm going to make for this is guacamole. I have made guacamole before on my channel, like really good guacamole. I will go ahead and link the video for that guacamole down below, but that is not what I'm making today. I am really keeping it simple because it's what I had and time, really, too. So anyway, I went ahead and just took the seeds out and put my avocados in this bowl. And let me tell you how easy this is. I'm going to add like almost nothing to it. A little bit of pepper and some green Tabasco sauce. If you guys have not seen the green Tabasco sauce, I really recommend going and looking for it. I mean, as a Tabasco, it's okay. It's really not hot. It has a lot of flavor, though. It's supposed to be jalapeno flavored. I guess I get a little bit of that, but it's got this perfect tanginess that is so great in here. I did add a little bit of salt, too. But that tanginess is so, so good in guacamole. Because, avocados are just like rich and creamy. So I went ahead and added in probably about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more, and then just mashed everything all together, like you're supposed to do for guacamole. And that was that. This was ready to go. I plated it up. I didn't make any homemade salsa for this on the first night. The second night when we had leftovers, I did. But anyway, I just threw some regular paste picante sauce on there, which was just as good. All right, let's move on to this Cafe Rio pork. So I've never made this before. I will just, spoiler alert, tell you, I will make it again. But here's the thing, I did alter the recipe quite a bit. So first off, I had a much larger roast than what they called for, and I stuck to the measurements in the recipe, and let me tell you, it was more than enough. So I put my gigantic pork in there, and then I added in 2 cans of Dr. Thunder, which are just Walmart brand Dr. Pepper. It calls for 21 ounces. I put in 24 because that's what 2 cans is. And I'm showing you the recipe here because do you see how much sugar they're calling for? A cup of granulated sugar and 3/4 cup of brown sugar on top of the 2 cans of Dr. Pepper that we put in there. I'm sorry, y'all, but this is where I've got to just draw a line. I was like, no, we're not doing it. So I did put in the can of green enchilada sauce that it called for and the can of red enchilada sauce that it called for. I did not have the chipotle chilies that it called for, so I just substituted a little bit of liquid smoke there. And I'm going to also toss in garlic, just like the recipe called for. And then when it came to the ground mustard, I didn't have that either, but I did have this this stone ground mustard, but they wanted like ground mustard powder. I had this stone ground mustard that we just picked up, so I went ahead and threw in about a tablespoon of that, which really was lovely. And then for the sugar, so I did not add any white sugar at all. All I put in was about 3/4 cup of brown sugar, maybe not even quite that much, and that was more than enough, y'all. This was definitely sweet. In fact, next time I think I'm going to cut it back to like maybe 1/2 cup or 1/4 cup of the brown sugar because it was just so much. Still good though. And there's the finished product. I mean, it's just shredding and falling apart. It was so, so tender and really good. I mean, the whole thing, it had really soaked up so much flavor. I was highly impressed. Online, it did suggest serving this in like burritos and cantina bowls and stuff like that. So I was just going to do tacos. That was what I decided would be the best route for it. As you can see, there's my dog Kiba in the background. He could smell it. He really, really wanted some. Don't worry, guys. I did give him a little taste, and he loved it. But he is impatiently waiting for his chance to have a bite. Anyway, like I said, we're just going to do some tacos with this, which was really good. But I would really recommend like any other application. I think the cantina bowls would be excellent. Sandwiches would be fantastic, which we did do. The pork had so much flavor. I felt like in the taco, it almost got lost between the tortilla and the lettuce and the tomatoes and the salsa and the whole bit. I almost felt like the pork itself got a little bit lost. But anyway, if you try it, I highly recommend it. And I recommend like a cantina bowl or a sandwich or something like that because it is so, so good.
This town's so lame, I'm feeling so
right, it is time for the last meal of the week, and hello, it's leftovers. Hallelujah. So I have so much of that pork left over. You guys, we're going to be eating this for like a year. I'm going to have to freeze some. There was so much of it. While I was at the grocery store, I did pick up this dill pickle salad. And, you know, when I think of like pulled pork, which is what this reminded me of, I think of like barbecue sandwiches with pickles and onions on it and stuff, and coleslaw on the side. And I was like, well, why not just have it all together? Of course, you don't have to put everything on the sandwich. I'll show you both versions of it, but I decided that's what I was going to do. So I made the dill pickle salad. It's just a kit you can buy at the store, and really you can make any kind of slaw that you want. It doesn't have to be this one. You could throw dill pickles on. You know, it doesn't have to be this one, but I do recommend some kind of slaw because it did pair beautifully with this pork. So I'm just going to reheat a little bit of it, and I did get a bunch of juice in there, as you saw when I pulled it out of the crock pot. I got a bunch of juice out of there just to kind of keep it nice and juicy. I didn't want it to dry out. And I'm kind of breaking up some of the pieces that were a little bit large. And I'm just going to reheat this in the microwave. I mean, just, I don't know, 45 seconds. I'm keeping it super simple tonight with these sandwiches. I am not going all out, but we've got to eat through all that pork. That is a 9 by 11, I think. So that's a lot of pork. Anyway, time to assemble. I had these hoagie rolls that we used for something the other day, and I still had a couple left up in my freezer. So I have pulled them out to thaw. And I'm just going to put a little bit of barbecue sauce on there. Not too much, just a little bit. Your favorite. I'm using Stubbs because that's what I had, but whatever you love would be delicious with this. No mayonnaise, no mustard, none of that. I'm just putting on the barbecue sauce. And for this sandwich, I'm just going to put the pulled pork on there and the pickles. So, like I said, you don't have to have the dill pickle salad. We can go this route. And then if you want to, you could put the coleslaw directly on the sandwich, which is super, super good. A lot of restaurants are doing that now, so it is definitely something worth trying. Or you can do what I'm going to do here and just top it with the pickles and call it a day and have the salad on the side. That's what I'm going to do on this dish. And then on the next one, I will show you what it looks like with the slaw inside the sandwich, which is really good. That, I don't know, cool creaminess of that dill pickle dressing on the slaw mixed with the barbecue sauce. You get the bite from the pickle, and the meat is so juicy, and it's got a sweetness to it. I don't know, there's something about it. It paired beautifully. So that's just like a breadcrumb topping that comes with the salad. It tastes very much like fried dill pickles. You can put it on your sandwich. You can put it on your slaw. It's up to you. You don't have to use it at all. If you don't have this kit, like I said, don't worry about it. But anyway, that's what just the regular sandwich would look like if you're not wanting to go fancy, or add the slaw on there. It's beautiful. Look at all the colors. I don't know, there's something about it. It just really speaks to me. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope you guys got some inspiration, found something you want to try. You know the drill, though. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all of you so much, and I will see you really soon.